distributed out. Nick, if you kind of want to introduce yourself, man, and see what you do.
Yeah, awesome. So Nick Cooper, I've been in real estate for about 20 years now. Started a single family. My first time I was in the Navy for 22 years. I was a pilot, flew helicopters, and I started, like I said, single family kind of by default. You become a landlord as you move around the military. So about 4 years ago, moved into multifamily. And right now, I'm partnered up with Andy Jarrett, who's on the call, and I got about 200 units. He's got about twice that, and looking to get bigger and do more things and get creative.
Awesome. You're up, Andy.
Hey guys, thanks for joining tonight. So yeah, I'm Andrew Jarrett, started in 2009, full-time in real estate investing. I did fix and flips, wholesaling, buy and hold, you name it pretty much, and got into larger multi in 2018. We've gone full cycle on 300 plus unit deals, which means we bought them and then sold them for a profit. And still have a couple hundred units up in New York. They're all single family to smaller multi, non-syndicated, just sold those myself and use those for cash flow.
Cool. Very good, guys. I'm glad I got you guys to come on here. I'm going to share my screen. This is just a slideshow. Now I'm going to probably, bounce around and go off on, tangents if you guys have heard me before. So, yeah, let's get started. Okay, what is Creative Financing 101? This is going to be 30,000 view down upon what in the world I do every single day. Now, I want to do a little disclosure. I'm not a lawyer and an accountant. Got to tell you that I'm just a really hard worker, right? Like anyone else. I'm not any smarter than you are. I've done just in 2 years alone over 46 deals and acquired about 12 million bucks in property and used 95% of them were seller financing. So you can read this in the recording, but you get the gist of it. Who am I, right? I founded my company in 2018 with a vision to acquire properties big and small. I moved into full-time investing about 2010, and now I am solely into acquisitions, right? Finding properties, no matter what they are, whether it's single family, multifamily. We bought a 92 boat slip marina, which is pretty cool on seller financing, 94 boat slip marina, an 8-unit motel and bar, and then also an 18-unit hotel mixed use and bar, two buildings on seller financing. It was a $2 million deal. We put down about 400 grand and about another 400,000 or 500,000 in the remodel. It's a pretty cool hostel. If you guys follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you kind of see a lot of pictures. Pretty cool. And then there's my family. We're all posing there. The guys, Nick, he already told you who we are. Here's him and his llama. That's pretty cool pictures. We put that in there. Nick told you who he is. I actually met him through MIH and Jake and Gino, multifamily. Awesome guy. He's very well accomplished. You heard his story and you could read this in your own time. Same thing with Andrew. He's got Face a Mother Could Love. Awesome picture. Really well accomplished. You're welcome, man. I think this is I was surprised and shocked at how much he's actually done in such a short period of time. And I thought I was a hard worker. So I'm real happy to have both these guys on board and let's get started.
Awesome.
So why create? Yeah, thanks guys. And by all means, I want this to be really interactive, right? I don't like to do slideshows and blah, blah, and very clinical. Jump on in, interrupt me. Same thing with our other guests too. We got a lot of signups. We got over 200 people that signed up for this today. Hopefully at least half of them show up. So please at any time, tell me to be quiet and jump in. But why creative financing? And right now, this is a really, really weird market. I mean, I've been through everything from 2018 where properties went in half to now, right? Where we had a huge inflation and everyone's property was going through the roof, right? Just about 6 months ago. Now we're seeing a lot of properties that are not selling, right? The people are having to drop the prices because of interest rates going up and up and up. And we're seeing a lot more people turning to creative financing now and bringing options to me where before I would have to be presenting options. So how do I outreach to sellers, right? It's pretty simple. It's 4 ways I primarily focus on. Door knocking, that's if it's local and in your backyard. I really believe in investing in your backyard first. And then once you become more skilled and a savvy investor, then you could actually reach out and see other markets. And it's very important to have strong boots on the ground too, because you're only going to be, you can't really mimic yourself, but you could find very strong partners in other areas to, be a yin to your yang. Door knocking again in your backyard. I physically go up to doors, knock on them with a card. And I say, I first purchase a property down the street, and that's probably the case if that's why I'm in your area. And I look for properties that are looking distressed, right? Or some sort of urgency is going to be needed. A broken down car in the driveway, the lawn's not mowed. You just kind of use your senses, right? Knock on there and simply say, hi, my name is Frank. I just purchased a property down the street. I'm looking to buy other things. Are you interested? And kind of go from there. See where the conversation goes. 99% of the time, they're not going to slam the door in your face. They're going to give you 5 minutes of your time and say, if you're not ready, don't push it. Here's my card. Give me a call. Texting by far, obviously look under what states are allowing texting. I know like New York is not right now because they're in a state of emergency. And I've got a lot of students with our coaching group that cannot text. So there is ways around it. In Illinois, there's not, but you definitely want to consult your FCC rules. That's who governs the texting. Cold calling, I only cold call the people that are in I call it acquisitions hit list, right? That are properties that I specifically am looking for a reason, whether it's mostly mixed use, commercial property storage, stuff like that. Those are very specific where I'll create relationships with those owners, and it takes sometimes time. With our 20 unit or 18 unit motel, it took from February to now for us to close them. So those are longer threads. Broker relations. I love brokers and realtors. A majority of them do not understand seller financing, even though it's in a contract, in their seller's contract, where articles for agreement of deed and subject to mortgage. But now you're seeing a lot more realtors coming to me to say, I need to learn this because the way the market is right now, and my sellers can't sell their property, or they're upside down and they don't want to short sell and screw up the credit. So there's ways with subject to mortgages where you can do that. And consistency is the key, right? I mean, every day I work out. I might not work out every day, the hardest I could work out every day for an hour, but it's consistency, right? Every day for at least an hour. Same thing with dieting, right? Same thing with education. What do you guys, Nick, Andy, what do you kind of use for your seller outreach?
So I think for us, a lot of it is a multifamily. It's a little bit, it's the same, but different. We've done the same as you. I've done door knocks, my wife and I. It really helps if you have a spouse or a partner. You go up to the door with them and with a little gift, like some cookies or something like that. And I think that's helped us a lot. Texting is something we haven't gotten into. Cold calling, we have a list that we scrub off of CoStar. That's kind of like a real estate big where they get all the information, and you can get like seller contact stuff. And then brokers is definitely probably one of the bigger areas that we actually have to get those contacts from.
Yep, I would agree. Especially with us for the multifamily, it's mostly brokers. Single family, when I was buying those, I used to use bandit signs as well.
You're complaining about not playing, and then
Sorry about that. Go for it. Probably dinner time over there.
Yeah. So yeah, we used to use bandit signs, but like Frank mentioned, kind of with texting, it's kind of location by location. We used to get quite a few calls off that, which always worked. Which is where you put up the large yellow, green signs, cash for houses.
And the best thing I think, Andy, is if you're already in that market, you can say, "Hey, I live here," or even better, you own down the street. You can say, "Hey, you're another owner. Come to the owner to owner." Like, "Hey, I own here." They're way more open to it. Also, then
really important that you're a real person. You're not a corporation, right? You're not an LLC behind it hiding. You're a real person. You genuinely care. People are not stupid, right? This isn't like 1980 anymore where there's not internet. People could Google your company. They could look things up. They could check your credibility. So yeah, coming in as a real person and, hey, I like this area because the school district and I want my kids to come in here and be here.
Yep.
So what kind of tools? Andy mentioned CoStar. That's for the big players, right? That stuff's expensive. But when you're just kind of getting started, PropStream is what I use to actually look in neighborhoods for targeting my market, right? It's used to target market and pulling addresses. So I could do basically draw a box, extract those addresses, right? And then we're going to put them into a program called Launch Control. That's a little more money. That's more for your texting campaigns, skip tracing. And then I'll get to the next slide exactly what we say. But Podio is my CRM that basically I'll take it and I'll push it from launch control and Podio. CRM is just a customer relations manager. It just keeps everything nice and organized, right? And it ticks me. It tells me, hey, you got to call Mr. Seller at this point in this time. It keeps me organized. And this week I've been really super busy. I've got a laundry list of people that I got to contact. And then I'll tell them, hey, I'll contact you in another month or two. And as I'm sitting here, I actually got a text from a seller saying, hey, I got a 40 unit. I want to retire and I'm moving to Florida. So it's legit. It happens. And I actually sent it to my group here. You probably can't see this, but these are the responses you'll get. Yeah, you can't see it. That sucks. You get the point. When they call you, right? I think I went a little too far here. When they call you, that's a great sign, right? It's a sign of compliance. So I'll get to that. That's more granular. I don't want to talk about that with how to close people. I'll touch on it in this, but what do you guys use? Andy, you said that you do use CoStar, but that's where you're for multifamily. Have you used these types of programs? And
I've used Podio before. I like that one. But I haven't used that in a while. Just mostly CoStar right now.
I
What do you
use
use?
Monday is what I use as far as the tracker for CRM. I think it's important that you can start off with Excel, but it's going to get pretty tedious after your first few months and a couple hundred people. So definitely that CRM for even if it's like $5 or a lot of times they're free for just you as a single user. So get some CRM software and use that.
Yeah, it's important. It's accountability, right? It's not, like I
Right.
said, how much you're doing. It's
Yep.
just if you're doing it, like I preach it, at least an hour a day for your outreach, at least an hour a day for talking to your partners and investors, and Warren Buffett, he reads 4 hours a week, right? It's crazy. I mean, you got to spend time on
Yeah.
yourself, your health and education.
What's up with the cat?
So what exactly do you say, right? Don't overcomplicate things. Keep it really simple, right? Like Nick said, you go up to the door. How you doing? I'm in the area. Don't be all salesman and slap it real thick about what you're doing. Just be a simple, normal person. So door knocking, again, very simple. Hi, my name's Frank. I'm new to your neighborhood. I just purchased a house on 123 Main Street. Do you have any interest in selling? You could give them your card. You could not give them your card. Sometimes I just write on a piece of paper, right? I'm just your average Joe. Text messaging. My name's Frank. I'm from McHenry. I put that specifically. I'm in your area. I'm not from overseas. I'm not in Indiana. I'm in Illinois. I'm local. I'm a local person. If this I took from one of my texting campaigns I'm doing for a multifamily campaign. So I do say I'm an investor. Now, there's two cool little tricks. I either say I'm an investor looking to buy your building in the area. Do you have any desire in doing it? Or I go the networking route. And I got this off a great cold calling book, The Art of Cold Calling, where if you provide more value and expect nothing in return, you absolutely will. They'll drop that stone wall in their face. So if you come in and you say, hi, my name's Frank. I'm a new investor in Waukegan, Illinois. I want to learn who the real players are here. Do you have 5 or 10 minutes? I could pick your brain on where I should be targeting my market. That develops a relationship. It's a long thread. And from there, then you slowly get into a loot. Hey, if you got anything you want to sell, it's not performing. Hey, maybe I could help you out. Maybe I could do something. The cold calling, exactly the same thing. Very, very, and my list, I'm going to go very direct with them. Hi, Jim or Steve. I'm an owner here in the area. Notice your place. Are you planning on selling anytime soon? I tell them who I am. So on my website, I have a credibility page. It just tells me my story about my family, how I got started doing this, and then my portfolio. I only give that out to kind of show who I am, more of a business person, especially with these business owners. They want to know that you could actually take that building down, or the house, that you could actually, especially with creative financing, and they're the bank. They're going to want that reassurance that you're not going to, default. What's your guys' take on that?
I would agree. I'd say people just want to know they're dealing with a real person, don't be too salesy when you're talking to them. It's going to turn people off. I think you have a great script there. I think that's good.
Yeah, I think the script is great. I think also it just takes practice and consistency. And also, if you're a lady, definitely a little bit of an advantage too. If you're talking to a lot of these, especially multifamily,
100%.
it's a lot of men. So if you're a woman, you definitely have a pretty big advantage as far as cold calling. It goes. My wife does it. It goes a lot more smoother than mine sometimes.
Absolutely. Okay, so identifying the why. So that's great. They want to sell, right? They got you, they gave you, said, yeah, give me a call. And the second thing I look and I ask them is, I simply ask them when I get on the phone, why do you want to sell? Now, we're only looking for pain or urgency that they want to sell, not just that they want to sell. If they just want to sell, they'll put it on the MLS, right? And they'll wait and like they'll get a sale and they'll move on. The pain or urgency, and I'll get to that in the next slide, is 9 different pain points, right? And we have to only look for those, be laser focused on those pain points. And I'll get to them now. The pain points are tired landlords, divorce is huge. That's a huge pain point. Vacant houses or buildings. This is great for like vacation homes or buildings that are, condemned. Health issues is huge. Actually, should probably number 3. Tax or mechanic liens. That's a pain, right? You got the IRS calling you or the state calling you. They want their money. Fail listings or listings over 60 days. This should be number 1 because that's what's happening in our market right now. And like I touched on earlier, these people can't sell their house and the realtors are really trying. So that's why the realtors are really, educating themselves. And I'm sure this realtor is on this call and definitely reach out to me in ways. I've got actually a deal I'm working with now in a local realtor and they couldn't sell their house and it was a little overpriced, but everyone thought their house was worth more, but now it's softening. So they have to find alternatives. For sale by owner, that's not really a pain, but what are the 2 reasons why somebody would for sale by owner, right? Trying to save money or they're negative
Right.
or low equity. So they want to come out of pocket, right? High equity isn't a pain, but is definitely something we look for because if a property's paid off, we could use that seller as the bank, make payments to them directly, and we make our money from what we have to pay the seller to what we're renting the property for. And what I do is I go on Rentometer, and at first I'll look at them. Okay, the property's paid off, my mortgage to them, and I'll figure it out with an amortization calculator. It's going to be $1,000. I'll go on Rentometer, search the area. This is what the comp's going to be. And it's $2,000. I got a spread of $1,000 there. Now, in some markets like mine, it's a one-on-one rule. So if the property is $160,000, I should be able to rent it for $1,600. But in some areas like New York or Denver or California, where the rent rates are super high, that ain't gonna work. So your best bet is you got to either look for subject to mortgage type deals with lower negative equity or Airbnbs, which are going to cash flow high. Or the long-term play, right? It's not going to be a cash flowing asset. It's going to be more of your, depreciation and more of your long-term generational type wealth. So there we go. Closing like a ninja. Okay. So like I said, you got through step 1, they want to sell. Step 2, they told you why and expressed urgency. 3, how I present the offer. There's nothing magical about this, guys. I'm just have the mindset. I've been in sales since I've been 20. I'm closing when I'm in a grocery line and I'm asking people if they want to sell their property. I'm always be closing, right? If you've ever seen this movie, it's probably as old as I am. But it's true, right? I always give the people 2 offers, Mr. Seller. First, I'll give you a cash offer, but of course that commands a cash discount. You probably won't like me and you'll hang up on me. I say that like a comedian says his script over and over and over and over. Why? Because it works for 2 reasons. 1, I'm disqualifying the cash offer. I want them to build a little bit of a trust by saying, listen, I'm going to give it to you. You're not going to like it. Believe it or not, it builds a little bit of trust because you're telling people not to do something, right? Then number 2, I'll give you an offer in terms, and that's going to be closer to your asking price if you could give me the terms that I want.
We like that strategy too, because you give somebody multiple options, they feel like they have to take one.
They do, yeah. And when I was in car sales in my 20, we use it's called a 4 square, and you basically just draw it out. You have your full cash price, what you sell the car for, 2, your payments, right, with a high down payment, a low payment amount, vice versa, and then basically let them choose, right, on what exactly they want to do. And then you're only as good in sales if you can become really good at overcoming objections. And by doing that, you're getting rid of that objection of, I got to ask my wife. It's the holidays, right? So the better you become at overcoming objections, the better you can become at sales. It's just really that simple.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to open up the floodgates here. Anybody got any questions so far for us? I wanted to do at least half of us rambling on and another half of questions. So like I said, this is very general, 30,000 view. We could get a little granular now if you guys got specific questions.
I think one thing to add is that I think about it this way. If anyone wants to think about a mnemonic for it, is like, SPY, think about the seller, what their needs are, the property, what it requires there, and then what you want. So your needs are the last one. So always deal with what the seller's concerns are, his pain points. And that's pretty much how you gotta look at, not like, oh, I need this deal for this reason. What does the seller need? How can I get creative to make that happen?
Yeah, I think that's important is relate and rebuttal. I use a lot as well. So I can relate to your problem, right? You are got some health issues, right? Well, I had health issues in 2018. I got really sick. I had COVID. It put me back, blah, 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 right? If you're a real person, it definitely helps out quite a bit.
Right.
So I had a question. You talked about doing a website, and we've done a bunch of fix and holds, and we have rental properties now, so we're not new to that side of it, but new to going door knocking and talking to potential owner carry offers, things like that. When you're talking to them and you're talking about having credibility by having a website, how important do you think that is when you're getting started here? Is that something you think is valuable to jump out and go ahead and do, even though we haven't done owner carries, but we've done a bunch of properties fix and holds?
Absolutely. I mean, anything you do everything you do is sales based, and you're building a comfort, and you are social proof is huge. So like, that's why people join the Chamber of Commerce, right? It builds credibility. Why realtors get in the door a little bit easier. They have the credibility of a license, attorneys, doctors. So whether you have one property or 500 properties like Andy, absolutely want to plug that. If you're any type of mastermind, you should have a sponsor, right? With them, like Marco or Jake or Gino. Put those on there that, hey, these people, they vouch for me. I'm a good person. I don't care. Yeah, if it's one property, say, and don't lie to them, right? Be honest. Hey, I'm pretty new to this, so we're going to learn together in the process, but always frame the conversation that you're here to help solve their problem, right? And again, we're only looking for problems that we could solve. So I'm wholeheartedly want to genuinely help these people, right? Ethically, I want to be able to be a win-win. And if they're carrying the note, you are married to this person for 5, 10, 30 years. You got to be honest with each other, because what happens if the market turns and you can't pay them? Right. And you're going to lose all this money. You got to go to them hat in hand and say, listen, I got a little bit of an issue here. Is there any way you can help me out? And if you have a good relationship with them, more than likely they're going to be, people are not stupid. They could read if you're, trying to scam them or whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely put something together, real basic, 3 pages, right?
Right.
Always not about us. It's always about me. Tell them your story. And I'll put in, let me see if I could pull it up here. I'll send it to you guys in an email, my credibility page. And it basically has, my journey, how I basically lost everything in 2008, my adversity, my family, how I got into real estate, and then my deals that I do. But I keep it very about me, right? I'm a real person behind this LLC. But yeah, absolutely. You want to definitely do that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Anything you can leverage is good. Like when I started buying, for a long-term holds, I was doing fix and flip. So I would just take a credibility package of before and after pictures. Doesn't mean that I've paid, notes to sellers, but just seeing that I could actually go and rehab a house, leverages credibility. And definitely you're going to build relationships with these people. I just did a refinance on a property I've had for 8 years, maybe. And the lady did not want to get paid off because I've been paying her the entire time. So she just said, I don't want the money back. Let's just, renew for another 5 years.
Wow. Kick ass.
So it's, it's definitely a great way to go with the strategy.
Yeah. And I always get asked too, like, why would somebody want to do a subject to mortgage deal? Right. So let's do a little granular, right? Like why? Let's talk about the why. My one deal I did, it was I live up in Chicago, and there's a Great Lakes Naval Base where the Navy SEALs actually they train up here. And I went there. One of my texting campaigns, I found a couple that had just recently bought a house here for 6 months. Well, then all of a sudden he got orders and he was being deployed. Secret mission, right? So I basically went there, I met with them. They like, we literally have to move next week. We don't want to be overseas landlords. I don't want my wife to have to, they had to move to Texas because that's where all of her family was and didn't want to be an overseas landlord. They're upside down in the house. They just bought 6 months ago. They're over leveraged, right? So they have all the fancy cars, but no money in the bank. So they couldn't spend the 15 grand for realtor costs, closing costs, tax credit. You got to give a tax credit when you sell the property. So they were screwed. He literally was going to put the keys in the mailbox and walk away. And I says, well, listen, I really can't give you any money because it's upside down, but I could definitely, help you and give you a couple bucks for moving. And to this day, that property makes me about $890 a month with $800 on my pocket just for the closing costs and attorney fees. And I make the payments directly to their mortgage company. It's, sub 2 type deal. Those are like the unicorn deals. I've only done 3 of them this year. They're extremely hard to find, but when you get them, they're really odd situations like this. That doesn't happen very often. You're going to just meet somebody in that situation. But they were happy because it solved their problem. They were able to move immediately, go back to her family in Texas. And I was just a real person, right? Trying to help out. I'm not some LLC that's just here to try and take the place. Let me think. Otherwise, health reasons. So now I'm seeing a lot with the MLS where people, like I said, they thought their properties were worth a whole lot, and now the market's softening, and now they have to lower their pricing. Well, if they can't, because let's say they have a construction loan on the property, like there's a house flipper I'm talking to now, where now he's like, well, I'm screwed. I'm out of capital for my holding costs. The place has been sitting for 6-8 months, and I got to get out of here, or I'm going to foreclose on my balloon. So I'm seeing a lot more of that as well, where they thought the market was hot. They underwrote it incorrectly because they thought they're going to, get a lot of money for it. And now they're going to take a loss, but they're going to take a significantly less loss by dealing with me. Right. So either we got to pay off that bridge loan or we got to refinance it somehow. So, I mean, how can I put it? If you don't have the stomach for this and hearing people's problems, you probably shouldn't do seller financing or creative financing. It's extremely hard to do. But it's fulfilling at the same time when you're helping these people, right?
Much more flexible than banking.
Yeah, much more. Frank got one question from Jay. I want to read it for everyone in the chat.
Sure. It says, thanks, Frank and Nick and Andy. This is an excellent presentation. You guys are very good looking. Oh, no, he doesn't say that. It's a very important topic, even more in this market niche. I have a question on subject to or master lease agreement. How do you pitch that to a seller or is motivated and looking to sell, but has a loan on the property? How do you structure it as a win-win? I'll let you guys take that over. How would you handle that?
Because somebody makes a post of owning hundreds or thousands of rental properties doesn't mean that they're automatically a liar. I understand that. What do you say you have W-Riz?
Guys,
Someone's
everyone-
not muted.
The reason I got W-Riz is because I got that Southern charm. You got a growth number right now.
There you go. All right. Sorry, guys, for the interruption. I'll reread it. I got off topic there. Thanks, guys. This is an excellent presentation. Very important topic, even more so in this market cycle. I have a question on subject to or master lease agreement. Those are 2 different things though, but I'll finish his question here. How do you pitch that to a seller that's motivated and looking to sell but has a loan on the property? How do you structure it as a win-win? Okay, I'll let you guys take it on. How do you feel is the best way to structure a deal like that? And I'll kind of give you my 2 cents.
You want to go, Andy?
Sure. What I would do is I would just make sure I would check, like Frank says, check rentometer.com, see what you can rent it for. I'd be into it for buy and hold. So I would see what their payment is, take over their payment, make it directly to the bank and give them, a receipt every month showing them that the payment's been made, and just make the spread basically on the rental and their mortgage payment. And you could add them as additional insured on the insurance, just in case there's a loss, they're covered as well. And, most times when I'm making the payment, I've never had a bank, come after me and say, oh, you triggered the due on sale clause. It's due now. As long as you're making the payment, the bank and I'm not an attorney, of course, but in my experience, the bank has never triggered due on sale. So that's what I would do.
I think, subject to mortgage is this is a little misunderstood. People think you're assuming the mortgage. You're not. How I do it in Illinois, what we do is we set up a trust. Okay, so I use Chicago Title as a trust company, just like they're a bank. So I'm gonna literally tell them, I'm gonna take this property's deed. We're gonna quick claim it to my trust, which is named XYZ Trust. My holding company, Lamco Investments, is going to be the beneficiary of that trust. So it's layered. That way, if the mortgage company goes and does any type of searching, it's going to show that it's more or less for estate planning, right? This is pretty normal. If you throw it into an LLC, it could trigger something, but as long as, and everyone I've talked to in the mortgage industry says they don't have the capabilities to be tracking these things down, going after them. Why would they if they're making the payments?
Yeah.
Can that happen? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? Yes. Be prepared for it, right? Have contingencies like anything we do in your underwriting. He asks if it or master lease agreement. I don't like lease options at all, because you're not physically going after that property, right? That's almost like an arbitrage, an Airbnb arbitrage. You're leasing the property from somebody else. I like the deed. I literally put them on my wall for wallpaper. It's just a pride thing, right? But yeah, I mean, what you're literally just tell them, get them educated about it, because the number one objection you're going to get is I don't understand. So if you could get them to understand how this actually works, we're going to deed the property. You're going to basically give me your bank account information to make a mortgage payment directly. That's how it's done. You just give me your login credentials and I go in there. Now, why in the world would somebody do that? They don't have options, right? Like I told you my story with the Navy SEAL. They didn't have an option. The only other option is they tried to sell the property, and I found them because they were over 100 days old in the MLS. They were a failed listing.
Thank you. No, that was super helpful. This was actually for an industrial flex space. The seller is very motivated, and I'm trying to actually get this to self-occupy myself.
Cool.
They have an SBA loan, so I was wondering if the lender needs to be okay with it, and things like that. But this definitely offers a lot of insight. So really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't let the bank know at all. Don't even ask their permission. If
Yep.
he really, really, really is scared of the due on sale clause or the bank, you could always do an articles for deed. That is, the bank doesn't have to know about that, right? That literally sits in a, the deed will be signed. It'll be a memorandum attached to the property, but no one's gonna know it except the attorneys. So if that title was ever searched, oh, there's a memo on it. Well, what is it? They call the attorney and they say, hey, what's this all about? Oh, well, there was no transfer of deed, hence there's not going to be the due on sale clause. So maybe go that route if he's really scared about
point.
the clause. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Consult your lawyers, but that's what I do.
Great point. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Frank, I got another question. It's kind of a tax related question, so you can play the "it depends" card. But when you're doing a owner carry like that, and you're making the payments directly to their to the bank, who at the end of the year gets to claim the interest if it's still in their name, technically?
Seller.
So the seller will still get to write the interest off.
Yep.
As if they were making the payments. Okay.
So that's a good point when you bring up the seller. What is the advantages for the seller to do it, right? They're gonna make money in the interest, be able to write off the interest, right? They still retain, if it's an article for deed, they get to retain the deed. If you default, they get the property back, it's fully remodeled or occupied, right? So you want to put a lot of win-win or more upside 80-20 on the seller, that they're going to be able to, take this property over if you default. So there's a lot of, I know in Illinois, there's a lot of predatory lending laws, even for seller financing. So you want to check your state. I know Illinois, you have to have at least 20 some pieces in your articles that'll protect you, the buyer, which is awesome, right? So if you miss a payment in Illinois, you can actually miss up to 90 days of payments before. And with COVID, they actually changed that a little bit where you have to foreclose on you just like a regular mortgage company would. So you definitely want to check on that and find yourself an attorney in your state that's pretty savvy with this kind of stuff. Tom has a question here. Also, main thing, I think, if you're using a servicing company, 70% comes off the DTI, and after a year, 100 comes off the DTI. I've never used a service company. I know that people do it when they have a lot of property, right? Andy, have you ever used a service company?
No,
No. How do you keep track of all your mortgages and stuff like that?
just an accountant, CPA.
Okay. Like with making payments, like to the mortgage company, are they got an auto pay or something?
Oh yeah, they're all just ACH, just on auto pay. All the seller carries and everything just gets auto deducted.
Yeah, with all of our long term, we do that because we know the cash is coming in, right? As long as the tenants are paying.
Mhm.
But yeah, I could see if once you get in the hundreds, it's a little crazy.
Yeah.
What else did you want to ask, Tom? I'm not understanding. You guys get what he's saying?
So, can you hear me, Frank?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so I wasn't really a question as more as a general statement. I think something else that I may have learned, when you're approaching somebody to do a sub two, and they say, well, what happens when this now stays on my credit now?
Oh, okay.
And I want to go buy another house.
Gotcha.
I think if you use a servicing company to service the loan, 70% gets wiped off of their DTI immediately. And then after a year of that servicing company paying that loan, 100% of that DTI comes off their, that 100% comes off of their DTI. So they can just show that that loan's being serviced by a service company, and it would get wiped off of their DTI, and they can go apply for whatever they want.
Yeah, I have heard that. I've never used a servicing company, but I have been in a position where I have a sub two and the seller went to Florida and they wanted to buy a new house. So what I did is I just made the payments directly to them for the first 6 months. We signed a lease and technically I was leasing the property from them, even though I own the deed, right? But I'm making payments to them directly. So it was all legit. And then they basically went to the mortgage company and says, hey, look, it's wiped off my balance sheet. And they were able to get approved for a mortgage. And then I went back and started making mortgage payments directly to the bank. So, but yeah, if that's what the service company does, it's awesome. That's just one more tool right in your tool belt.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Natalie asks, can you refi in a subject to if the interest rates ever drop? At that point, the loan would be in my name. I've never done that. Can you absolutely refi it? Yes. Most of the stuff that I have now is pretty low. I got 3 VA loans that are like 2.5%. So I don't really want to touch those. Some of them that are in the 3s. I mean, now rates are going to be closer to 7. But yeah, to answer your question, if it goes down, I don't think it'd be a refi, right? You'd have to do a purchase, right?
Unless you have the deed.
Yeah, if it's subject, well, you got a quick claim deed. I don't know if you need a warranty deed or a quick claim deed. Good question. That's a tough one, but I'm sure you could. You're not technically refining it because it's not in your name, right? So you would probably have to do a purchase on the property at a lower rate.
Yeah, if you don't have the deed, you'd have to do that.
Here's our contact info, Nick. I didn't get your Calendly link. If you want to put your address and your email address and phone number in the chat for everybody. Guys,
Yeah, no worries.
reach out to me, guys. Everyone on the call, if you want to set up a call with me, want to learn more about this stuff. If you want to talk to Andy and Nick about multi, and you guys are in Tampa, right?
I'm in Tampa. Yep.
I'm in San Diego.
Okay. If you want to reach out for networking and meet some new partners, these guys they're super savvy. They got a lot of cool stuff up their sleeves. So please, that's what we do these calls for, right? Is we want to give back. We don't really expect anything in return. We want to network. You want to learn more about stuff. Yeah, I believe education should be free, right? So let's give, pay it forward.
And you can
Awesome.
do this on large multifamily deals. Nick and I are doing it right now.
Yeah, let's talk about what do you guys have in the pipeline now? What are you actively doing?
You want to go over it, Nick? Or?
Yeah, so right now we got a 32 unit that we use some type of creative financing on. So the owner does have a mortgage on it, but right now we're dealing with having him hold back part of the loan. So that's something that we kind of worked out as interest rates are, rising, that you gotta be creative. Like, well, this isn't March of 2022 anymore. So those are the kind of things you have to do. Like it just doesn't work right now with traditional financing.
He was one of the guys that was set on a certain price you know?
Yeah.
So if you want that price, then it's, price or terms. This is our
Yep.
cash price and this is our term price. So with terms, we were able to get him to agree, and it actually made the deal pencil pretty well.
Cool. Yeah, I just closed on a 18-unit hotel. It's 2 buildings. Seller financing for 1.4 million. We put 400 grand down. 400 or 500,000 for the remodel. It's going super smooth. It was legit crack house in a pretty good area. So we were very happy to give back to the community, and it's in a huge development industry as well. The village of Fox Lake's doing like a $12 million redevelopment project. So there's TIF money involved. So I'm a strong believer in investing in your backyard and revitalizing these communities. So it's really helpful when the village and the counties and the state are really behind that push, right? This is just going to be a great project all around. Before that, we closed on a 92 boat slip marina. So I can't stress this enough. When problems come across your desk, don't really look at asset classes, right? Look at
Yeah.
the pain and how you could solve it, right? And kind of go from there.
Yep. We actually had another one, a 28 unit. So this lady told us she was getting cold called all the time. I think she said she had 70 or something cold calls
Something like that.
over like the past 2 years, and everyone just kept saying, offering her cash. Nobody offered her creative financing except
Yep.
for us. We were the first time she ever heard of it, and it's going to be, hopefully we're working on another deal there.
Well, because I mean, what the big thing is, you figure out what their problem is, and her problem was like they don't want to have the taxes, and also they're supporting their grandmother that's in a home, so they want that income to support that. So that's the way you kind of have to figure out. Again, it goes back to what is the seller's pain point. How do you figure out a way to solve that? And we just came in there like, hey, we'll pay you, this amount a month if you hold the note on this, and went from there.
That's
And they
exactly.
have another 35 unit they want to sell in a couple of years. So we create the relationship with them and hopefully buy that one
Awesome.
too.
Yeah, see, look at the ways that you could solve it. It makes you feel good, right? It's not just like a wholesaler, you're offering half the price. And I mean, I've only wholesaled a handful of deals my whole career, but they're harder to do now with this market because people are savvy, right? They're going to go online, they're going to figure out what everything's worth, and a lot of it is low hanging fruit, right? Don't be
Yeah.
a lazy investor. Look, take the extra step, because you could do all you need is one deal with creative financing to change your life. It could pay your mortgage, your personal mortgage. Where I mean, I can't count how many deals where I've been like, I cannot believe this just happened. It's insane, but it's absolutely possible. I think the first step is just, and I tell my students with our coaching is literally just be consistent, talk to 5 to 10 people a day, and just talk to them and listen to their problems and ask them, why do you want to sell, right?
Yeah.
They'll tell you. They'll start splurting it out, right? And then I tell them, well, what are you gonna do with all this money? Like, say, hey, I need the money to go to Florida, and I'm gonna be, well, what are you going to Florida for? You gonna open up a tiki stand on the beach and start making margaritas for the tourists? What are you gonna do with all this money? You really need all this money? And then you joke around with them and you build a rapport that way, right?
Yeah.
And then you disqualify it as well. Always disqualify the cash offer. Our whole goal to this, the name of the game in real estate is less money out of your pocket, right?
Yep.
Using sellers, using using them as the bank, right? And if we have to come out of money, yeah, that's the beauty of partnerships, right? Like with this call, there's probably a lot of people that know each other on here. We need partners, right? For either they have access to capital or great credit or whatever they could bring to the table. So that's extremely important. Let's get one more question out of somebody that's new that has a question. That's what this is based on, right? Is for a lot of new people that are just getting started and even don't have any properties yet. You know the saying, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Only stupid answers, right?
Come on. I have to start calling people out. Chad, I'll call you up, man.
Oh, my goodness, I knew you were.
Yeah, Chad, we all know you.
Yeah. Hey, so I guess what I would ask is, and this is still something I'm working through myself. What is after you negotiate with a potential seller, they're interested. Could you outline the steps that you need to have in place, like with a lawyer or dealing with the contract documents from there until the closing? Like Can you outline that for us?
So how I do it, it's basically like a first thing first, you're gonna get in contact with them, right? Whatever means necessary, shaking their hand physically or texting or cold calling. Whole idea is get them off of that and get them in front of your face, set up an in-person meeting. That's why I like investing in your backyard. I feel is extremely important because you could physically jump in a car, whether it's half hour or an hour and a half, and actually meet them. Number two, ask them the why, right? Why are you selling? If it's not adhering to that pain point, like I don't even spend more than a minute in talking to them about it. I don't want to go the conventional route. If that's the case, I'll just go online and an MLS and contact a realtor if I'm going to buy property.
I have a little something like you. Bye.
We want to find the why with them, and we want to solve their problem. So I look then at the 9 pain points, right, that I brought up: tired landlord, health problems, divorce, so on and so forth. From there, ask them, okay, well, here's what I could do for you to solve your problem. I always frame it that I'm here to work with them to solve their issue. I say that over and over, and I almost agitate. And I teach this as I agitate what their pain is, right, or urgency, and I'll pull that thread, right, and I'll let them keep talking about it. Let people want to talk about their problems. After a while, that curtain will drop, that brick wall will drop, and they'll want to talk to you more about the situation. And then you say, well, I help people like you in your situation. Do you want to learn how I can help you too? And then at the floodgates, at least when I do it, it opens. Okay, I give you a cash offer, or I give you an offer on terms. Now, Chad was with me. He came to visit. He's a partner of mine in our couple properties. And I met a seller. His name was Guerdo. And he was retiring. He wanted to move back to Mexico. He's a wealthy a restaurateur. He was just tired of the rat race, right? So he had a vacant lot that I wanted, and that's how I contacted him, because it's directly across the street from our marina. We need more parking. So I just went out of, and we're not making any money on the land. It was more of a value add for our guests that are there. He says, oh, by the way, I've got an island too I want to sell. I'm like, an island? Are you kidding me, right? And Chad was there. And I was like, well, okay, well, you know, I don't have a lot of money to buy an island. So I'm not like, you know, Fantasy Island here. But, you know, I could give you a cash offer, but you're not going to take it. Or we could, and he's right there, right, Chad? And, or I could give you an offer in terms. He's like, well, what were you thinking? Well, you know, let me go back to my desk. Let me structure it. Let me see. I want you to make some money on the deal. So I literally did a amortization calculator. Sorry, I brain freeze, and presented to him. Here's how much money you're going to make on the interest. And I always go 0% financing, 30-year amortization with no balloon, and see what he says. Oh, well, I can't hold it that long. Won't be alive that long. That's the number one thing you hear from older people. Okay, well, what were you thinking? And that's when negotiation comes in. Always shoot for the fences. You never know. I've done one where people are like, okay, 0%, 30 years. Cool. He was like, well, I'm not going to live that long. Let's do a 5-year at 5%, because that's what rates were at the time. And so I did the numbers. It was like $500 a month or something for the vacant lot, and $1,800 for the island. And it's 2 houses, right? And we visited the island, Chad and I. And I was like, I can't believe I just bought 1.35 acres on an island with 2 houses with seller financing. Who the hell does that? Stupid.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty cool. It's like, so that literally.
And what Frank was talking about, I actually heard him say that. Like, the first thing you said is, I can give you a cash offer, but you're probably going to punch me in the face because it's not going to be what you want. Pushing him directly out of the cash offer. It worked.
So then, yeah, literally he had an attorney though. So the 2 attorneys, Vince, my attorney, and his attorney talked. He wanted to create the old articles, which was cool. To create the articles for deed, articles of agreement deed. Every state's a little different way they word it. And from there, it was his attorney was very knowledgeable on seller financing. So that transaction went super well. Big majority of the time, just like a realtor, they'll shut that down, the seller financing. So getting attorneys involved, I can't say I want to discourage it, but the less people in the deal, the better, right? Because they don't understand the situation. They might not know their client is upside down, or they're behind on payments, or they have they don't know the situation that we just are trying to solve together. So I'd say at least 3/4 of my deals have no attorneys involved except for ours, and kind of go from there. Definitely want to find an attorney in your state that knows the ins and outs, and you need a title company that is going to insure these properties, right? So that's extremely important as well. Once you get across the closing table, you get the keys. Now what do, right? You got to have an action plan. You should have already underwrote the property. You should have already raised the capital or have the capital. So everything's kind of in tandem, right? You got it under contract, and you've probably heard the story before, is get the deal first, worry about the money later. That's actually how I do it. So you want in your contracts to have a kickout clause, it's called, right? Have your inspection periods extended. I have my inspection periods up to the day of closing, to make sure I could get out, right? Or inspection contingencies or finance contingencies. Put everything you can to kick it out, just in case you can't raise that capital or something happens between that time and you're going to be closing. That way you're not stuck. Then once you get it, you should have your capital in place, right? Your money in place. You should have your contract. You should have a strategy. What you're going to do, you're going to Airbnb this property. How are you going to manage it, right? You got to have all this foundation built up in the background. So definitely want to find, take your time with this, absorb the education. That's why I say reach out to us where you can actually, get some more knowledge about it. And Chad's in my group as well, and he's learning a shit ton about looking for student housing, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Frank, I just want to be clear. So you're talking, the original question was the additional things after you negotiate with the seller. So the important thing is you need a lawyer. You have to have a lawyer to structure the deal in the beginning, be able to write the contract, and you need a title company to work through that process to close. Those are the main things, right?
So the attorney normally is a title insurance agent. That's how they make their money as well. So definitely want to lean on them. Maybe they have an in. So yeah, that's gonna be important because there's some title companies I won't. Like I've dealt in Wisconsin, and they don't recognize trusts. They don't recognize articles. They only recognize land contracts. So every state's going to be different. You definitely reach out to them and get the correct paperwork. But you should have the mindset of getting the deal contracted, having your kickouts, and then worry about the rest, right? If the deal makes sense and you could present it to your partners that it's going to be making money, then the money will find it.
Thanks.
Tom says, except if you live in New York, right? New York's extremely difficult to invest in. He's in Brooklyn. I feel for him.
Yeah, it's gotten tough up there.
So I'm looking actually in the Catskills. I think that's going to be coming back with the hospitality. You're seeing a lot of these older bed and breakfasts coming around. I like Pennsylvania a lot. Where are you targeting in Tampa, like Clearwater? You said you're getting a lot of, what are you're looking for, multifamilies or more hotels, or what are you looking for in Tampa?
Yeah, we're looking for multifamily right now, 30 to 150 units. So Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and that I-4 corridor from Tampa, to Orlando, like Winter Haven, Lakeland, those areas.
How do you do your outreach? Are you doing more texting, or are you more broker relations, or what?
Right now, it's mainly broker relations, especially in that 100+ unit area. For the smallest stuff, we actually pulled some CoStar lists, and in January we're going to start going direct to seller.
Nice.
And stuff 50 units and less.
And we've gone direct as far as you look on like Crexy and LoopNet, stuff comes on there. You may not want that guy's deal that he's advertising, but he might own other stuff. So that's when you ask him about what else he has. So that's how we got ours right now, is like going through, was it Crexy, Andy? I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, we didn't want his deal. He was trying to sell us, but he had another one he's like interested in selling. So
what's
I asked him, like, you got anything else? And he had two other buildings.
What state is that, Nick?
Florida.
Oh, in Florida. So how is you an investor? And that's a big question I get asked by people is, how do I invest? Like, he's got Andy, his good, strong boots in the ground in Florida, right? How are you even investing in California?
I don't. I exited out of California about 4 years ago. So you got to live where it makes sense and invest where it makes sense. Yeah. So my biggest thing is you have to have someone that's on the ground, that's there. Someone has to be there. Like they can drive there. Not like a 4 hour drive, like you said, Frank, a half hour to an hour. And you just can't do that. You can't do it remotely. You have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna call Joe Francis. I'm gonna call you out. He's local. I've known Joe a long time. I feel for him. I'm sorry you know me that long. But what's some questions out of you got, man? You're pretty new to doing this, but you're super educated. Now you're ready to pull a trigger and start talking to people, right? You gotta unmute yourself.
How about now?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
So you're in the education realm. You've learned a lot about this stuff. Now it's time to call people, right? What do you think's your sticking point? What's your struggle or obstacle you think that you could overcome? Because you've been in sales your whole life as well. And what do you think is now your main thing you need to scale up and get past that education paralysis, right? Keep deep diving and learning things.
Yeah. I've done phone calls before. You obviously know. Right now, I got everything set up. I just didn't want to call this close to Christmas and be pecking at people. That's my obstacle. Is it a moral thing right now, or that's where I'm at?
Yeah, I just don't think that it's not right to call. I mean, we still do, because I have employees that are behind the scenes that have to work, and they made money for Christmas, right? So I keep on it, but I'll switch it up. Like right now, I'm only looking for MLS fail listings and over 100 days. That's what my focus is now, because I think that's how the market is going. I still look for tired landlords, stuff like that, but my main focus is on MLS. What's on market right now, believe it or not.
Yeah. No, you know what? I'll probably just end up pulling the trigger, like you said, go for the failed listings. Those people are already thinking of moving. So
yeah,
I'll start hunting that. I'll have to get back to you on that question. Give me a week here, and I'm sure I'm gonna have stuff for you.
Okay.
I do need who is that? Andy that's in Florida, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've got a buddy here. He owns a lot of these big tattoo shops, this, that, but he needs a place in Florida. He's looking to make into an Airbnb. He's a big investor guy. I just don't have boots on the ground there. So maybe we can network here, because he keeps bugging me, and I'm like, I find properties, but you gotta know your areas. I tell him.
Little pockets.
So maybe we can network here on that one.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
just
would
reach out. Shoot me you can go to my website, jarrettcapital.com, and shoot me an email, or just schedule a call, either one.
Yeah, I'll throw you an email, throw you my contact stuff. So
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Anyone got anything else for us?
I would say I would definitely call right now. I got some of my best deals end of the year. People want to sell. Do you want to hold this property another year, or do you want to get rid of it before New Year's?
Yeah, I mean, there's no better time. You can't plan things, right? Don't plan a wedding.
Yeah.
Don't plan a kid. Don't plan on buying a property. Just do it, right? There's never a best time for anything in life, right?
No, I think, and someone else out there is making those calls and doing the work. It's going to get it over you if you're not doing it.
Agreed.
yeah, I'm gonna get on it.
That's right.
I've got it already. So I appreciate it. That was the hurdle I was trying to get over right now, being so close to Christmas. So I was like, but
Good.
I look at it like, you're solving someone's problem.
No, I know.
What a great Christmas present. Right?
What a great present, or Hanukkah present, whatever your religion you are.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a great present. You're helping them out.
I just didn't know how responsive people were going to be. Are they going to look at me like the Grinch? Sometimes. I mean, sometimes, because you go through a bunch, and then you get one, that you're helping, but a lot more or less
Look at yourself as Santa. You're bringing a big gift and a big bag of presents to them. If they want to open it up or not. Like, you're not the Grinch. Like, you're helping them out. Like, you could be their savior.
No, you're right. I just had to get over that one there. So
let's do it.
I think that was more or less my wife in my head than me. But yeah. All right. Well, I'll definitely throw my number out to you guys, because I got a guy that needs to find some stuff in Florida. So
All right.
Yeah.
he's got deep pockets too, so just gotta
Cool.
find a good area. So,
Anyone else got anything else? Otherwise, I'll end our call, 6 o'clock. It's Friday. Everyone wants to get out, enjoy the weekend, right? Please
right.
reach out to us, guys. We like to give back, right? Pay it forward. We're definitely, I'm super passionate about this. I know the guys are as well. So please don't be shy,
100%.
whether you're a newbie or whether you're got 4,000 doors like Andy, right? Definitely want to be able to, you know, we want to hear from you. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for coming out. This is awesome. And I'll definitely see you guys soon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Frank.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.